What it do, what it is, how you doing?
Welcome to Coming Up for Air, an introspective podcast. I am your co-host, Jaxon.
I'm your co-host, Breundun.
How you doing?
Timothy, from where I'm at.
Jesus fucking Christ.
They call me him, you know.
Welcome back. Let's hit our check-in.
Our bit.
Breundun.
I wanted to talk about finally like working out. I started to notice like I was looking a little bit bigger in a bad way, and I was like, we're not going down this route again. I was like, absolutely not. So I didn't realize how like easy it was, like just throughout your day. Like if you pump out anywhere from like 10 to 20 push-ups, bro, you can like genuinely like knock out a lot of push-ups.
In your microphone.
Oh,
up there.
Yeah, I was like
you're sitting up straight still. Already gave up.
No, genuinely, like if you just like if you're walking around or like if you're like when I'm streaming, like between games, I'll just pump out like a quick like 10, 12 push-ups, you know what I mean? And like you look, you get a lot in, you know? When I had like trying to just make the time to like get in my garage real quick, box for a little bit, you know, and just do some exercises and shit like that. So finally getting back into it. I really needed to like start dieting again and like really get into my shit. Starting to drink beer, being 21. I'm trying to try beers and shit like that. No bueno.
Gross.
No bueno.
Beer's
like,
not the vibe.
I do like beer though. I like the Kilt Lifter. Not bad.
That's an IPA.
Yeah, I know. It's still beer.
It's a little different.
Yeah, but it's good.
Yeah, but it's a little different than just like a beer. A beer's like Corona or
yeah. I had a Voodoo Ranger. That shit was like
also an IPA.
That shit hits you, bro.
Aqua FPS is sponsored by Voodoo Ranger. That's how I know about them.
I just know about them from the burr. But yeah, bro, I need to stop doing that shit. Hard liquor only. But I don't even drink like that, so
true.
Shout out to all my potheads. Love you guys. What else? Oh, and the new job. Yeah, bro. Slowly trying to work my way up into bartending. So right now I'm kind of food running and kind of just learn the system of the restaurant and stuff like that. But
workflow. Yeah,
just the workflow and how it all goes, how it all sets up and shit like that. But I'm really excited because I think we're both gonna move up to bartender here pretty quick. And
fingers crossed, dude.
Yeah, bro. If that works out, fucking money, and just really kind of put our head down and get to it, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm actually pretty excited for it. It's a new chapter. I feel like I'm taking my drink making skills to a grown up level, you know, and I'm really like, it's the next step, you know what I mean? Like eventually I think it'd be really cool to do like private bartending, where you go and do like parties or like, imagine going on a private jet.
A PJ?
A PJ. Imagine being on a PJ with like Quavo or something like that. And you're his fucking.
Who's Quavo?
You know, like the Migos. Dab. Pipe it up.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
What's another song? Drop Top.
Drop Top.
Yeah. Those guys. Yeah. The main guy. Like with the long and he always got like some fire.
Like
this fucking guy. Okay. Imagine being fucking Papa Roach's PJ.
I know Papa Roach.
Oh, I know Papa. Yeah, hold my
that
dick.
Underground guy.
Yeah. That one indie guy. What's it called? Like, imagine just being like a fucking bartender for them on a PJ, bro. That'd be fucking lit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I kind of want to work my way up and get like really, really fucking good at it. Maybe do some like mixology and like we have a bartending set here that I don't even know about, but I want to try and get like a little book, or even grab the menu from the place. And
I have books.
Yeah, I want to start learning and like really like get into it.
Yeah, I got you.
Big bet. What about you, my boy?
I want to talk about. Okay, first off, this is the first episode after our initial launch of the podcast. So hey, Drake's in the chat. Hey,
poggers.
But I wanna clarify some stuff. All right. I'm the one who edits the episodes. And I realized something while I was editing it, and I was just like, well, I'm not going to fix it because it's whatever. It's a podcast. I'm just going to leave it in raw dog, right?
Raw dog is what we're here for.
And then
No hats.
And so my mom listens to the podcast.
Just kidding.
Wow.
Yeah.
My mom listens to the podcast, right? And
that was a great sentence, right?
My mom and I are both like really big film heads.
Oh man.
And she listens to the episode, and after I published it and everything, I was like, I know that the time that she's gonna reach out to me is to correct me on Good Will Hunting. Okay, I know. All right, it's Matt Damon. It's not Leonardo DiCaprio, and I want to say that I fucked up. All right, my bad. I know it's Matt Damon, not Leo. But I literally was in Stan, and I was like waiting for my mom to text me because she told me she was listening to them that day, and then I get a text from her, and it's just saying, I love the podcast so far. By the way, it's Matt Damon, not Leo. And I was like, God fucking damn it.
Hey, at least you called it. That's kind of tight.
Yeah, and the day after, my other friend had texted me too. Like the day that after they had released, in the morning, the text that I woke up to from him was, I didn't know Leonardo was in Good Will Hunting. Must have missed that. I was like, fuck.
You said, damn, bro. I was expecting it from my mom, but from my homie.
Yeah, and then Shay brought it up to me too. Everyone is on me about it, dog.
Yeah, bro, you big fucked up.
Yeah, I was a little pissed. But yeah, so I want to say, my bad. We do a lot of talking on the fly. All right. My apologies.
Nah, bro, shit
Sir
on him.
Matt Damon.
Get on his head.
Second, I want to call you, I want to explain why I call him Breundun. Like why I say it that way. Okay. So when me and Breundun became friends and started working together, we had two people at our workplace. It was Breundun, because it's BRE, and then we had Brandon, which is the normal like BRA.
Not normal. Fuck you.
It's the more common. Happy?
No.
It makes you unique, baby. So
bully him. Get on his head.
They came at the same exact time. And so I would call Brandon before I gave him a nickname. And then I would always get you two mixed up on which one was supposed to be which. Mm-hmm. And so then at one point somebody said it to me and I was like, okay, it's Breundun. And so that's why every single time I call him Breundun, I like enunciate it so much because of the fact
like you're the only person that tries to get every single fucking letter in my name.
And it's because of the fact that like whenever I met you, we had another guy come in at the same time with a very similar name.
Yeah, that's why I just tell everyone to call me B.
Yeah, and I think it's funny also. Breundun.
Yeah, every time I hear it, I'm like used to it. No, like it's just normal.
Breundun.
You're the only one. Feel special.
It's my whole shtick. Let's dive into our main topic for the episode. We're talking about dealing with toxic relationships.
My favorite.
Yeah, I know it is.
I'm like, see, you know what I've realized already?
That you're Himothy.
Not only that, but I'm like, I see the game, but I'm a coach. Coaches don't play. You know what I mean? So that's why I feel like, have you noticed that there's so many people who are in a relationship that go to single people for advice?
Shut up.
Because coaches don't play the game.
Shut up.
Coaches don't play.
Shut up.
But honestly, after our last episode and you calling me out, I genuinely have thought about like just being like, fuck it.
Hell yeah, brother. That's called character development.
But it's also terrifying.
That's called character development.
Fuck my life. But continue. Toxic relationships.
Yeah. I think that toxic relationships kind of covers a very broad subject and a lot of stuff. Because relationships that are toxic can also apply to friendships. But I feel like we more want to zero in on the actual relationship aspect rather than the friendship stuff because of the fact that I think that that's a later topic that we can really hit on. And we might touch on it here and there in this still. But, and if you guys want to hear more about like toxic friendships and stuff and the way that impacts your life and how to deal with that.
And like specifics, you know.
Reach out to us, comment below, tweet at us or whatever. I don't know. Brendan's in charge of socials, not me.
Yeah.
Not my problem. But I think I want to start with like how to tell when you're in a toxic relationship or like what are the key signs that you're in one. And we can kind of move in from there and get a little deeper because it's a pretty heavy topic.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of hard to like. There's not really like pinpoints to it. You know what I mean? Like you can't really always just be like, oh, it's this or oh, it's this. You know what I mean? Like there's always different situations for every relationships. Obviously, everyone is different and stuff like that. But I don't know. I feel like people genuinely forget how important the little things are. You know, people always talk about like, oh yeah, we communicate, yada yada. But like, when you ask people like, all right, what is communication to you in a relationship? 9 times out of 10, it's like, oh, like, yeah, like we talk to each other about things, like certain things, yada yada, this and that. But it's like, nah, bro. Like, do you genuinely like check in on each other, like mentally, like emotionally, physically, like, hey, bro, are you good type thing? Because I think that like my biggest thing with relationships is so many people think it's like a team effort. And so you like basically are joint. My biggest thing with relationships is 2 people should be able to live their own lives together, if that makes sense.
Yes, but also like it is a team effort.
Yeah, 110%.
A relationship is you know something that can only be done with 2 parties who really want it.
Yeah, and I think the best way like I've ever heard it is how Will Smith explained it in a YouTube video. He said that a relationship is like 2 people playing the same video game, just finding out how to get through it differently. So like if you find, you know, a certain like say like if we're going through like a campaign, like on some Elden Ring shit, right? Say if you find a sneaky fucking weapon, right? You're gonna be like, yo, I found this shit. Here's this. It'll help you through this. You know what I mean? But you can't basically walk them through everything. Like they also have to find out their own shit. They also have to learn their own shit, how to adapt, you know, what to do and stuff like that. But then you also have, you know, somebody to lean on. Mm-hmm. I just think people get so dependable. Like we both have seen so many relationships where like,
yeah,
they're so dependent. You know what I mean? And
I think that, yeah, definitely the moment that the relationship becomes like you are the same person or like one person is very much the other person, it enters like that. This is a problem.
Yeah, it's like dangerous.
Yeah. Having your own unique identity is extremely important to not only maintain like your self-worth, but also just like not have that toxic relationship,
Yeah, because like my biggest thing is like
you will always pick up traits.
Yeah, like you like the way I talk. I know that so many people pick up little shit like from like the goofy shit that like me, you, all the homies say and stuff like that. Like obviously being around us, like, you know, we kind of give off like goofy ass vibes and shit like that. And so like you're gonna pick up things from that other person, you know, don't get me wrong, but also at the same time, like you should still have your own hobbies. You should still like be your own person, live your own life. And I think, you know, there's a problem with it because obviously on both sides, like, you know, you see a lot of guys who are insecure and very controlling and respectfully don't know how to handle a bad bitch, in my opinion. A bad female, I apologize. Because, like, obviously if you have a very attractive female, right, you know that this girl is going to get talked to, she's going to get hit on, and people are going to try and approach her. Correct or incorrect?
Sometimes it's just the way you say things.
Yeah.
It's just like the minute bit of like, people probably find that a little disrespectful.
Wait, which part?
You know, like the bad bitch part.
Yeah, like but I mean it with all love.
You know what? Like,
I mean it with all love. Like
Shay was like, you know what? The one thing that I hate that Breundun does is when he calls women females.
Bro, you know, people at my job have hella beef with me for that, bro, and I've tried to be better about it. But like, it's because for most of the time that I've known you, how many times have we heard the whole like, oh, men this, men that, this.
I get it. I hear it all the time, and I don't
want. So they don't like it when you're like, all right, females this, females that. They're like, whoa. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, bro.
That's not the equivalent, because men and women is the equivalent. You're saying male and female would be the equivalent. Either way, like this is getting into like tomato, but and like
yeah, but I've heard it. People do have beef with me for saying that, and I'm just like, why are you offended? does
I
the
don't think it's so much like an offended thing. I think it's more of like a what the fuck thing.
no, I feel you. It just I had a lot of anger and hate in my heart, you know. Oh man,
Making excuses.
But anyway, no, my biggest thing is like, bro, if you have an attractive ass female, like, tell me I'm wrong. You know she's gonna get approached. You know she's gonna get hit on. You know she's, you know, like if she posts something on social media, like, you know, guys are probably gonna try and like slide up or, you know, hit her in her DMs type thing. Like,
yeah, that's my current situation.
You have to know that that's gonna happen, especially if, obviously, if you think the person you're with is attractive, somebody else is too. You know what I mean? And the biggest thing with that is like people always try to like freak out and be like people don't like friendly. Like when their other half is like friendly to other people. If like, you know, someone like slides up and is like, oh, like I think you're, you know, very pretty, blah blah blah, this and that, and they're like, oh, thank you, and just kind of leave it at that. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference between being like too friendly and kind of like letting it go on.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because then you're just kind of like, all right, I kind of want this attention from it, and it goes both ways, you know. And then there's a way of like, oh, like thank you, being nice about it, and then just kind of leaving it
being
like that.
Polite.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And so I think people kind of fail to see that line, but also in the same sense, like it's also on that person, like if you're not genuinely like putting in that effort, like I think 90 to 100% of the time, bro, and like making sure that person knows like, hey, bro, I got you. You know what I mean? Like, trust me. And like, because trust is a huge thing. You know what I mean? Like for me, like I've known that like if I'm gonna have, you know, a girlfriend, I'm not gonna tell her what she can and can't do. I'm not gonna tell her who she can and can't talk to, because at that point she's gonna do it regardless. You know what I mean? Whether I know about it or not. So you have to have that trust.
I think that also breaks into kind of like a level of like being in a toxic relationship can be your SO being too controlling. If your significant other is like super controlling and like super, I don't want you to talk to this person, that person, like, and there's there's a difference between I have a valid reason for this person has shown me that they should not be around you and they actively make me uncomfortable, and like they make completely forward advances consistently, and then just being like, that person is in their mind a possible threat, or is, you know, a guy or a girl, and that is why you can't talk to them. Like, it boggles my mind whenever people are like, yeah, I don't want my significant other to talk to other guys. I don't want my significant other to talk to other girls.
Yeah, that shit's crazy.
I'm like,
why?
You're like,
stop being insecure.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it boils down to, is an insecurity issue of like you're not trusting in your basic foundation of your relationship.
Yeah, and it's like at that point, like
yourself.
Yeah, like if you can't have enough confidence in yourself or enough trust in yourself to like know that like you're good, you know what I mean? And like if that person really messes with you, like they're not gonna do anything wrong.
Yeah, and also like that comes into the fact that like if that person's gonna cheat on you, they're gonna cheat on you anyway,
regardless. You know what I mean? Whether you know about it or not.
Yeah, you limiting who they talk to just can make it more likely to happen, if I'm honest.
Yeah, because now, you know, like it's even like, you know, every time we hear like, oh, like strict parents raise sneaky kids.
Yeah, I'm convinced the reason that I am like so open with like a lot of the stuff that I do, or like I don't really like I never like drank a lot when I was younger, or like I was never interested in doing drugs or anything like that, like, and I didn't really like sneak out or do anything like that, is because my parents were very much like, do what you want. Like my dad had the saying of like, you have my 100% trust until you show me that you don't.
Yeah.
Or like that you don't deserve it. And that meant that I was allowed to be out until like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. and you know, doing whatever the hell, like vibing with friends or going out and having bonfires.
Yeah.
And I think that applies to relationships too, of like, you have to be willing to trust people and know that like, and that kind of gets into the conversation of people's love, like the aspect of loving, and the reason that it hurts whenever something bad happens is because you are opening up your heart. You are allowing for someone to see the most sensitive part of you. Yeah.
Parts of you, yeah.
And so when it hurts, it shows how much you cared, but also like that's part of the game. You have to be able to accept that sometimes you're going to get burned because that's life.
And it's growing pains.
Yeah, and eventually that'll lead to something better.
Yeah, because you end up carrying that into the next. But I think also another toxic trait is when you do carry trauma from a previous relationship or a previous, whatever it is. I've had to learn the same thing, that I can't carry all of my trauma into the next. Like, I can't throw that onto somebody else.
And I think that kind of touches on something we wanted to talk about, which is like, how do you not bring
baggage?
Yeah, how do you not bring all of your damage into your next, experience, your next relationship? And I want to preface this by saying there is no way to not bring it. Like, you are bound to bring some aspect of you because that is part of your personality at a point. Like, depending on how bad the relationship is, whether it be like just it wasn't healthy or whether it be like abuse levels, like either way, you're bound to have some sort of baggage because that stuff doesn't really leave you. And that's okay. It's okay to not be at 100.
And I think it's just more about how you lay it out. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people is like, they don't, before getting into another relationship, especially dependent people don't genuinely learn, okay, why did my last relationship end the way it ended? What in it could I learn from? You know what I mean? And where on both sides could we have been better? Because obviously, looking at your side, yeah, you can say, oh, I didn't do anything wrong, I was perfect, blah, 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 this and that. All right, so basically, when you come in with it, before you think about getting into another relationship, whether you're talking with somebody or something, if you haven't accepted everything that happened and gotten over it, but gotten over it in a sense of all right, I understand what happened, I accept it, I'm no longer letting it affect me, but it's just more of all right, I've now learned a lesson and I'm going to carry it into the next relationship. And then with that next person, letting them know hey bro, I went through this, you know what I mean? And this makes me feel this way. You know what I mean?
It does all fall in communication.
Yeah, that communication goes so far, and it's if someone really cares about you, they're gonna take care of all those little things and make sure that, they don't do certain things a certain way, or, go a little bit above and beyond when it comes to, I don't know, I feel when for people who go into relationships, in the early stages, it's always hard to try and gauge where they're at with it. You know what I mean? Because I feel one person's always deeper into that relationship than the other person.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the nature of humans.
You know what I mean? There's always one person who's more into it.
And I think that some of that does fall into the line, all of this will circle back to communication, but I feel some of it does fall into the line of your willingness to be honest. And that means also saying the things that you don't like to say, which for me, that's come down to when I get into a relationship, I have to tell the person pretty early on, I go hey, I want you to know this stuff about me. I want you to know the previous relationship experience I've had, how I feel, the things that I've gone through that have made me and kind of morphed me a little bit. And I need you to understand why, when you do this, I might not respond well, or I get uncomfortable when X happens. Yeah. And it's not necessarily because I'm mad at you or I think you're a bad person. It's just because, or I don't trust you. It's because I've had this stuff happen to me and it shaped me. I've been cheated on more times than I can count on both my hands. And that was in one relationship.
Fuck.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Jesus.
And it ended with them cheating on me with one of my friends. And that was kind of my final straw. But it was textbook worst relationship possible. They would break up with me and then drag me back in or threaten to off. Yeah. If I wasn't with them, all of that. And I think that there comes a layer of you need to go into your next relationship saying pretty early on, hey, this is the baggage that I bring, and I want you to know that, because if that person truly wants to be in a relationship, you truly gives a shit, or is on that level, then like they'll be there.
Yeah.
And you know what? There is a time where it is too early to bring it up. You know, don't bring that shit up on like a first date.
Yeah, type shit.
Don't show up, you know, in your dress or your suit, and then sit down, flowers in your hand, and then be like, so when I was 12.
Yeah, bro. Like, nah. It's just more of like you'll know when, like when to kind of talk about certain things.
Things will start getting a little serious.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, like, even on those first dates, like some people genuinely do like to like skip the whole like small talk, and it's like, all right, bro, like, what are you expecting? Like,
yeah, and I think that's also a good thing. I think going into a relationship and like setting up to avoid a toxic one is when you're starting out to say like what your intentions are.
Yeah, like what are you trying to gain from it? You know what I mean? Like what are your intentions? Where are you trying to go with it? Are you thinking long term? Like, is it just kind of like a
are
fling
you wanting
for
just
you?
like a crash and dash?
Yeah.
Like what are you looking for?
A little smash and pass,
A little tip
duck.
and dip.
Yeah, you know, it'd be like that.
Or are you here because you want a relationship? Are you here because you want something that's like kind of consistent, kind of not? Like, and those boundaries have to be set and understood early on, because then you get into a problem where like, I mean, we saw it most recently with our friend. Like,
I was literally about to say, it's always fucked when you have someone who's like, yeah, I would be down, and then they kind of get a little bit serious, and then he's like, or she's like, on second thought, I'ma dip out.
I'm good, fam.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that there's definitely like an understanding that it has to be met. I don't think he listens to this shit. But I want to, like, basically it rounds off by saying, like, it's okay to bring it into your next relationship. Just make sure that when you're bringing it in, you talk about it. Make sure that that person understands, like, what you're bringing in, because I guarantee you they probably have something to bring too.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's got their baggage. Everyone's got their damage.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. Set your boundaries. You know, if you want to wait for, sex or, certain things, like set those boundaries early and be like, yo, this is like where I'm at. This is kind of like my expectation for it. Like, if you can't be cool with that, then like obviously, we shouldn't be talking type things, because then you not only save each other from wasting time, but you also save each other from wasting energy.
How do you go about setting those boundaries? How because I know that's a conversation that a lot of people really struggle with, is setting those boundaries of being like, I want to wait to have sex. I want to wait to like to get any level of intimate. I want to wait to like, or just like setting your pace and your boundaries with a person without like, especially post, an abusive relationship. And then I want us to kind of round out on like, we'll circle back to some stuff, but
no,
I want to tackle that real quick.
I mean, those boundaries are always very like, obviously they're very serious to people, you know what I mean? And like when people do care about that and like want to set those boundaries, whether it be for sex or just certain levels of intimacy, I think it's a huge thing to kind of just be like, obviously don't make it like to a point where it's like, I don't even know how to explain it, but like be very stern with it and like obviously confident with it, and like, but you don't owe an explanation to anybody. You know what I mean? Especially coming into a fresh relationship, like, you can let them know like, hey, I want to wait, due to these reasons, or I just kind of want to wait because I want to like, I've had enough.
Fill it out.
Yeah, like I've done enough. I've had enough. There's people who, go crazy. Beforehand and, go wild and out and do all their things. And then when they finally get
burn out.
Yeah, and then they burn out, and then, they finally want to be like, yo, like I want to genuinely get to know somebody first. That's completely understandable. Let them know off rip. And, we see it a lot of times, like mostly it's like with guys who are like, bro, I'm not trying to wait, blah, 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 this and that. And it's like, bro, if you can't wait for a female, then obviously you don't care about her. One, and two, it's just more of like that's like a maturity thing.
Yeah, and also like I want to preface that by like, if going into a relationship and this person tells you like, I want to take it slow. I want us to work our way there. And that's like, can be like a month, 2 months, however long of a span of time it is that is like a slow churn or whatever you want to say it is. There needs to be like one, a level of understanding, and two, like if that is the most pivotal part of that relationship, then you don't care about them, you care about their assets.
Yeah.
You care about what they provide to you and not what that person means to you. And like you can argue like all day long whether or not that's true or not, but at the end of the day, if like you break up with a person and you don't want to date this person or see them anymore because they say, I want to take things slow, I don't want like to rush into sex, you don't give a shit.
No.
You are dating because you want sex.
Yeah. And it's like, bro, if you're looking for that, then like, no, download
Just
Tinder.
hook up with people.
Yeah, like download Tinder. Be straight up with people. Like I promise you, 9 times out of 10, bro, if you were more straight up about like,
You get the people who would want it.
yeah, like you, like it goes both ways. If both, like men and women were both like, hey, bro, like I'm just looking to have some fun. Like, all right, cool. That's not what I'm looking. Yeah, like you would find those people. Oh, I'm not looking for that. Or you'd find like, all right, bro, me too. You know what I mean? And at that point, like, y'all make that decision. You know. But also, like, it's crazy when people go and they're like, oh yeah, I'm just flinging, catch feelings, and then that other person is like, dog, this was just.
I'm just here for the hanky panky.
Exactly. Like, and then they get hella like upset and like heartbroken. I'm like,
you had to know what you're getting into.
Yeah, hella. And I don't know, it's just always like shaky and it's always situational, you know what I mean? But
I think that
you're dealing with other people's hearts, bro.
Yeah, and I think setting boundaries boils down to like understand that while you're dealing with somebody else's heart, you're dealing with yours. And if you're not comfortable in the relationship, then the relationship's not working.
Yeah, like it's not a relationship. You know what I mean? Like?
You know, that, and the other word for relationship is partnership. And that's what it boils down to, is like if both parties have an understanding and they both want to be comfortable, then those terms need to be met. What? Squeak. But just understand that you're that's what you're getting into, is setting those boundaries means being comfortable for you, and be upfront about them, be willing to talk about them, because that's the only way that they get set. And if you feel like things are moving too quickly, don't be afraid to voice it, you know? And if that means that a relationship goes south, then like you'll find something better. Because at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to, is if a person's not willing to move at your pace, then it's not
if you care
for
about
you.
Yeah, if you care that much about that person, you'll be like, all right, bet. And, you'll chill out. Or you'll be like, all right, bro, fuck this. You know what I mean?
And it can also be a conversation of like that person's like, okay, well, this is kind of where we are in the relationship. We've been dating for 5 months and you barely hold my hand.
Yeah.
And like then that kind of boils into a different level of conversating,
Yeah.
But I want us to go to kind of the start of what this probably should have been, which is, how do you identify that you're in a bad relationship, and how do you get out of it?
That's fucked.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like so many people have that hard time like swallowing that pill of, hey, bro, this is not healthy. And identifying it is always like, it's very broad, but I mean, like, if you have more bad days than good days, something's wrong.
Which is also hard to quantify, I won't lie.
Yeah, but also at the same time, like, if you find yourself in a more stressed out, anxious, sad, depressed, whatever it may be.
Anything that is remotely uncomfortable.
Yeah, like in one of those states, more than you can find yourself enjoying your time with that person, something's wrong. If that person does not build you up, like a relationship is like that other person is supposed to be the one person you can rely on when it comes to character development, when it comes to like that person should be able to call you out and be like, yo, like, hey, yo, dog, like, you're fucking up here.
And I think that it's hard for a lot of people because you boil down this of like, if you dread having to see this person, that's not good.
Oh, 110%. Yeah. Like if it gets to a point where you're like, damn, bro, like I really don't want to hang out with this person. Like obviously you should not be talking to that person.
And here's where the hard part is 9 times out of 10 when you're in an abusive relationship, you're in a very toxic relationship, you feel like you deserve what you're getting.
Yeah, like it does get to a point where that person has mentally like corrupted you to the point where like you hear about it. It goes both ways where they're like, oh, I treat you like this because, you know, you're this, or I treat you like this because you're this and you deserve this. Like it gets to a point where when you're hearing that continuously, you start to believe it.
Yeah, and it's worse. So for me, it was it's hard because there's a lot of forms of abuse and there's a lot of ways, like there's a lot of manipulation tactics, and you do believe you deserve it because it's happening and you're not walking away from it. So of course you must deserve it, or, you know, like it's happening and nobody's stopping it. So it must be earned.
Yeah.
And like that obviously boils down to like how many people are really seeing it, you know, stuff like that. But for me, I was told like, oh, you deserve better than me, da 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 da. But anytime I try to leave, it was met with that. Or like, if I didn't say they were wrong, then that conversation ends really badly for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's easy to identify a toxic relationship from the outside.
Yeah.
But unless like drastic stuff is happening, it's really hard to identify it from the inside.
Yeah, because like you always have those moments where like no matter how bad it gets, like some people have those really good moments. You know what I mean? And like people hold on to those really good moments till the next one comes. And it's like it's always tough to see those when like, you know, I was the same way when I basically got down like to the point where I was like broken down, where I was like, bro, what the fuck is going on, bro?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, I don't even know what to do anymore. And I felt stuck, you know, and for me, it was just more of you have to come to a realization, you know what I mean? And it's more like, it kind of goes into that, like when you have somebody who depends on you and you're so used to like talking to that person every day and like, you know, you become a support system for them. And then, you know, all of a sudden they lose that footing. Then like to them, like their whole world is crashing, you know what I mean? And then they kind of throw it on you, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, like, oh, you know, I do this or I need you for this, you know what I mean? And then they kind of just start throwing everything at you. And that shit is, you know, unhealthy too.
Yeah. Toxic can also come in the form of just like being overly codependent, which is what we said at the start, is like, don't not have an identity, like be able to be yourself in a relationship. Because if you can't be two separate people while you're together, then that is also toxic, because you have to be individuals to work.
Yeah.
And I think codependency leads into other issues. I think codependency is where a lot of like toxic relationships start, and then it develops into abuse.
Yeah.
Be it verbal or physical, either way. Like I think it develops to that point because codependency turns into resentment whenever the codependency isn't met.
Yeah, especially when you have people who are like, whether it be like pathological liars, whether it be people who are just like genuinely like batshit fucking crazy, bro. And like you kind of see it to the point where, like you said, on the outside, where you kind of see it happening and you're like, what is going on? How is this happening?
Well, here's the thing. One of my friends who we're gonna get on, Cameron, he was there whenever I left my really bad relationship, and he like literally met me. Like he walked to her house because I was there getting my stuff from her, and she like threw glass baubles at me. Like it was a whole thing, right? And I want to preface this because of the fact that it leads into like the next segment of this, which is like he walks to the house to come get me. He walks with me, drags me out basically, and like we walk back to my car, put my shit in the back seat, and then sit down in the car, and I just start sobbing. And he's like, "Hey, it's okay, it's over. Like you know, you're gonna be okay. Like it's not a, you know, it's not there anymore."
Yeah.
And I was like, "That's the problem, is that it's over. Is that I feel like I deserve it, and it's over. And now I don't have that anymore."
No.
And like I left with like glass cuts on my body, and I still was like, and every now and then I still get those moments where I'm like, that's what I deserved. And I still feel like I deserve it.
Yeah, and I think, you know,
it never goes away.
Yeah, I think
fully at least.
Yeah, I think you'll always have those, especially when it's like genuinely that traumatizing. You know what I mean? You're always gonna have those, you know, like flashbacks. You're always gonna have those memories. But I think the biggest thing to overcome it is, as much as you can tell yourself you do deserve it, you can also tell yourself like, I deserve better. You know what I mean? And it's genuinely that fight on a daily basis with yourself to lie to yourself better, like in a positive manner, than lying to yourself in a negative manner.
Yeah, and I think that it's really hard to get out of that hole and that mindset. And it literally took him being like, no, like, we're leaving, like, you're not going back there. For like, he was like, we're gonna go get food, we're gonna go do whatever the fuck, just not be here, and you're not going back to this house.
Yeah.
And that, like, you know, obviously I was fine. Like, within a week's time, I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, I should not be with this person.
Yeah, you kind of like, yeah, like once you like do get pulled away and you kind of have that space and like kind of like just room to think and like really like genuinely try and understand it. And I think a lot of people don't understand, like, there are some people in cases where they genuinely like cannot get out of those like situations, like whether or not they live with that person.
Well, the thing was, I went to school with them and we were both in theater.
Yeah.
So like, and they were my co-leads. So like they worked set. So
yeah. So, okay. So I'll ask you this question. Cause I think I probably dealt with it too. I was definitely in a toxic relationship. I had my own toxic traits. Mm-hmm. Definitely in that relationship, I fucked up a lot and I was a piece of shit. But in for like our high school and younger people who, you know, listen, that we know, when it comes to going to school with somebody or like seeing that person on a daily, because obviously like going to school with those people, you see those people every day. So if something happens one day, you're probably gonna go through it for like the next week and a half, 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I don't know, how would you combat that? That shit is tough.
Yeah, it is. I won't lie, you know. It was tough. For me, it was hard because, like I said, it's a work-like environment, you know, and I've spoken on it before, but like I took that stuff very seriously. I took it like it was an actual job, you know, because at a point it was my job. It just wasn't the hours that I was getting paid for. Yeah. So there's a lot of times where you kind of just head down, keep pushing through, and like, you know, I think that I never really like made eye contact. I never looked at them. I avoided them at all costs. Like I didn't really like, I did the things that was like separate myself as much from them as I can, as often as I can, you know, talk to them when I have to. And, you know, we were both leads, so I had to talk to them. I had to, you know, coordinate. And I think that it's one of those things where you're sitting there and you almost just have to like not get angry or let yourself get affected, because you have to be like, I'm better than this. No. I'm better than what they've made me or what they've done to me. And it's hard because it's moments like that where you're sitting there and you're like, I want nothing more than to push this person out of my life and never see them again. Yeah. Especially whenever you've pushed past it.
Yeah, and I feel like that, like for that, it's almost like again, like seeing them every day at school, and like that shit is very, very hard to avoid. And I think the biggest part is like whatever friends you have at that time in school or whatever people you have around, like
I think that
try and get them to help.
Yeah, and understand that like what I just said is like the most pivotal part is like, don't let them be what they'll make you. Don't let it be resentful whenever you know people talk bad about them. Don't let that be what's around you. Like for me, I told my friends like, no, don't.
Yeah, don't bash on them.
Yeah, like you don't know what they did, one, and two, like, or at least not the extent of it, but like don't make me as bad as they are. But I like, don't bring me to that level, because I know that I'll feed into it. I know that, like, I have nothing but resentment for this person.
Yeah, and I feel like that's how I was for so long, especially recently. It's just like I had like was just like any corner I could, any angle I could take to fucking take a jab at that person. I was like,
I'm gonna do it.
yeah, because I was just so angry and so like resentful and just like when you put out for somebody and you genuinely stick your entire fucking neck out and you try and tell somebody like, hey yo, like I got you, and that shit is shattered. Like you go from having a whole set to now picking up pieces of yourself.
And I think that that's why I have such a hard time leaving relationships that are good for me, or like good, quote unquote, for me. Like, in the sense that like they are miles above that one. Like they are healthy relationships, but it's just like I need to leave it because I can't be in it, or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what if I end up back there?
Yeah.
My advice for you, if you're in that situation, is to know that it gets better. And I know that that's the most cheesy bullshit thing you'll ever hear somebody say, because everybody tells you it gets better and it doesn't ever feel like it, and you just want to shout at them. But as somebody who's been there, as somebody who lived it day to day and knows how tough it is, and knows what it's like to leave with that, and then have to see them every day and talk to them and be near them, I'm telling you, it gets better. I'm not saying that it gets easier, but they go away. The marks go and fade. The memories start to fade, and the pain goes. The resentment starts to fade, and it's not worth it to hold it. Your life is so much more than just that moment, that time span, that small segment of, months or years of your life is nothing in the minute scale of a life you could live of happiness, where you just don't let it be you. Because the moment that you give into it, you feed into it, you become the very thing that they wanted you to, or you become them. And I know that you can be better than that.
And you almost give them like that satisfaction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially after like they're like, oh, like I was right. Like look how they turned out. You know what I mean? Especially when you let that shit eat you up. Like, I've had to learn like me and you have had, hella talks about like, all right, bro, fucking like grow up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and kind of like deal with it. You know what I mean? And it's not like, and not in a disrespectful way or like not in a rude way, but it's like at some point you have to take that next step into growing and not taking things as, oh, this happened to me for a reason, but always look at it from a perspective point of, all right, bro, what can I learn from this? Because now, like, I think me and you both can say that we both kind of look at things as lessons. Like, we always talk about people come in your life, whether it be friendships, relationships, like whatever it is. People come in your life either as a blessing or a lesson.
Yeah.
But regardless, you're going to learn. You have to learn something from them.
And I want to quickly say, like, growing up, I was around, like I've mentioned before on the podcast, my mom has a wife, so she's gay. And, I grew up around really strong women my whole life. All of my mom's friends are pretty much too. And so I grew up around like very strong, independent women who like will literally fuck up anybody that gets in their way, and who don't need anybody by their side, and which is good. Like, because you're a person, you don't need somebody by your side, which you talked about before. And so I think like women are not to be fucked with, and they're badasses, and I would never wish foul on anybody. And so I think that in that relationship, it was very much like, oh, this is just kind of like,
Yeah,
thing.
Yeah, like, like
and
you kind of just tossed it in with it.
Yeah, and so like that kind of poisoned the well a little bit, but if you are in that situation, just like understand that it gets better and that you can leave. And
the process of leaving is like, as much as you tell yourself like, I can't leave the situation, like that person needs me, yada yada,
or I deserve this.
Also, in the same sense, you need you. You need you more than anyone else needs you, because that voice in your fucking head, your inner child, whatever it may be, that motherfucker is screaming for help. And at that point, you have to take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if you think about it in the most like plain terms, if you think about it in the most like fucked up way, nobody cares about you. At the end of the day, everyone is going to make sure that they have themselves first and that they're taken care of. You know what I mean? Like if someone has $5 to their name, someone else asks them for $5, 9.5 times out of 10 times, they're not going to give that fucking $5, obviously, because that's all them. You know what I mean? Like that's all they have. You know what I mean? Like people are always going to take care of themselves first and make sure that they're okay before you are. So if you're not taking care of yourself first, like it's okay to be selfish to a point.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And make sure that your mental is okay first. Make sure your emotional state is taken care of, your physical state. And if someone is affecting that in a negative manner, you have to be able to cut that.
Yeah. And also like if you are in a situation where you have like a higher up or somebody who is in charge or something that you can talk to and be like, hey, this is like, there's some issues with me and this person. You don't have to get into details if you don't want to, if you're uncomfortable with it, but like, don't be afraid to tell that person in that position to be like, hey, I need to be around this person as little as possible. Because it's okay. And that person should have your back and understand like, okay, this is now my problem of like, I need, and problem is a bad word for it, but like, this is now something that I need to take care of. Yeah. This is now something that is important and it clearly is impacting this person.
Yeah. And I think that, being able to talk to somebody, no matter who it is, like kind of like how we talked about earlier, like even if you're not looking for someone to be responsible and kind of take up that, in charge, like, hey, I'm going to help you out. Even if you need to talk to somebody like, I'm going to tell you something, I don't need a response, but I need to get this out. 9 times out of 10, like sometimes you do just need to get it out. And then whether or not you want that help, that coming from the other side, be a good person, help that person out, bro. You know what I mean? Cause like, I wish more people would think about if I was in that situation, I would want that help.
The last thing that I want us to touch on this topic is admitting how it may have affected you, like admitting what the long lasting or like the short term effects are of something like this. And I don't really know if you have something that you want to say about like or where that starts for you, but
I don't know. I think for me, it was like, I think in high school, like after senior year and I graduated and shit like that and kind of just sat back and really learned from my relationships. I learned that like being a fucking horn dog in high school, like I was like, coming out of it, like for me, like sex isn't as big as it is for, I can say for most guys. Like for me, like I don't need to like, pipe on the first date or I don't need to like have it, that soon. Cause like for me, it's like, all right, bro, whenever you're ready, you're ready. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to push you towards something you don't want to do. And, like, for me, like, I started to slowly mature. And, like, I don't know, I feel like a big thing for me was even talking to my mom about, like, hey, bro, I fucked up. You know what I mean? And, like, I made these decisions. And, like, having my mom look me in the face and was like, bro, like, I can't believe you did something like that. You know what I mean? And, like, really being able to get a perspective from, a woman's side to it. And, like you said, like, having strong, independent females around, whether there be friends or, your mom or, aunt, whatever it is, cousins, having their perspective and honestly, like, being straight up like, hey, yo, like, how would you go about this? Or, like, what would you expect? Like, that insight is huge. You know what I mean? And being able to learn things from other people is huge because if you're always looking to learn stuff from other people and their perspectives and stuff like that, you build your own perspectives and you now have so many different angles to come at. You know what I mean? Like, I think up until recently, like, I was so about the little things with that person and I was like, any angle that their trauma fucked up for them, I was there to, like, combat that and be like, yo, like, you don't deserve that. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't deserve that. Like, you're a good person. Like, I promise you, like, like, and reinforcing that. And that energy needs to go both ways. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know, just kind of like acknowledging, like, if you're putting in more energy than the other person, like, obviously something's wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you're not putting in as much energy and you're not into it, you also have to be the person to step up and be like, yo, I'm not really that into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think for me, when it comes to admitting how it may have impacted you, it boils down to like I have the added benefit of like asking my friends who've seen me pre and post this relationship, who can like look at me and then go like, dude, like you've changed, like there's something shifted in you, um, and also just like take that moment to like take a deep breath when you're alone, when it's like whether in the shower, in a bath, or like laying down in bed or driving, like take a second and think about how you perceive the people in the world around you and how you perceive yourself now, and know that like change is okay. It's okay if that has impacted you in some way, but you have to understand that the only thing that you can do is make that impact, make whatever change that is brought a good thing. You know, for me, it was that I was like so scared to get into another relationship, or like I was scared whenever people like lift a hand near me, what, you know, or like you raise their voice. And you have to understand like there's a level of discretion you almost have to take in those situations with yourself when you're thinking and kind of recollecting on like the way that it's impacted you and changed you. And if it's, you know, something that has made it to where like you don't really like being in large social groups or whatever, like then you try and find the positive, try and find ways to mend that with yourself. Like have your small social group, your small group of friends, and get really close with them, understand them, and then try and slowly widen that, whether it be people that they introduce you to, or, you know, people that you go and find out on your own, like either one. But you have to find ways to make it into a good thing. And it's like what both of us said, of like the mindset of like, it's no longer negative experiences, it's lessons.
Yeah, you have to, it's all perspective based. Like there's so many things in life, like not even just toxic relationships, but like everything in life is always perspective based. Yeah. If you can have multiple perspectives and see things from whatever, like different standpoints or different viewpoints, 9 times out of 10, you're going to come out of it better, because you'll find, like we said, that positive thing to learn from. You know, you may look at it and like, oh, like it fucked me up here, or, you know, this happened here, but I also learned this lesson from it, and I can take it into my next relationship. Like if this person doesn't, you know, hit this, or, you know, isn't, you know, or is still negative in this manner or acts this way, like I know I'm looking for this. You start to build like your, I guess, specifics in what you're looking for. You know
your ideals.
I mean? Yeah, and at that point, like, again, you're not wasting anyone's time. You're not wasting any energy, and honestly, you're probably gonna find them a lot faster.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Rather than just like, oh, I'm gonna take a stab in the dark and just see what happens.
Yeah,
you know.
This was kind of a heavy one, so I think that we should come up for air.
I'm here for it.
Bloop, bloop. Little bubbles. Did you want to start?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, go ahead, because this is something we're probably both gonna talk a little bit about.
Yeah, bro. First off, shout out to all the people who have genuinely like listened to our podcast, has sent us messages and hella love. We appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Genuinely, I did not think that we were gonna have the launch impact, or like, I don't even know how to explain it, but like I didn't think that people, like, we were gonna hit as many ears as we did.
Yeah, we hit a lot of people who were really hard, like really fast on those first 3, which is like awesome. Like it means so much to see like that, or like have people come up and be like, oh dude, I love listening to podcasts, or like I'm so excited for the next episode to come out. Yeah,
because like I was saying earlier, like I've had people who I haven't talked to in a while who like, you know, gave it a listen, and they were like, bro, like you guys have such a good, you know, back and forth going. I love what you guys talk about. And, you know, we've had people who have messaged us and been like, yeah, bro, like you made me cry. Like I've had multiple people, you know, who I work with who came up to me and were like, dog, like I almost teared up. Like I had to pause it because like we started getting into like things I can relate to. And it's just like, you know, like
things that like mean a lot, or like that I needed to hear.
Yeah. And it's like, that's literally what we like. That was our expectation coming into this, is like, we know that we're both the type of people that, and like, not even to like toot my own horn, suck my own tit or anything, but like, we're both the type, the people who like, people come to us for advice. People come to us, to try and help them through things. And like, we're both those like kind of like, I feel like we're both kind of looked at like the big brother figure, like, I'm not gonna make that joke. Are you good? Yeah.
Okay.
But and for us to both kind of come together and make this and kind of be able to take impact, and if you listen to this and you want us to hear, or you want to hear us talk about something in specific, like, don't be afraid to be like, hey, like, can you talk about this? Like, we won't ask any questions. We won't ask any, or like, why, or like any specifics to it. Like, unless like, obviously, like, it's like serious and we're like, are you okay? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we would know, but like, don't be afraid to like genuinely want us to hear something, and like, obviously, keep it like very like, hey, like, I just want to hear this, don't ask about it, yada, yada, this and that, because like, we obviously need those topics, and, whatever we can reach out to, because everyone goes through something, and it may be relatable in one sense, but it's always going to be a different subject.
So I was talking to my friend about it last night, and he was like, he literally was like, dude, I was upset whenever there wasn't another episode after the third one. And then he was like, you guys have found something. He's like, the formula works. He's like, it is really smart. He was like, you have something here. Keep running with it, because it'll go somewhere. And I was like, that's not even what it's about necessarily for me. I was like, I want to reach, by the end of the year, like, I want to have like, the goal is for me, at least personally, to have like 2K listeners.
Yeah. And I think like, and I think for me, like, I even like told like a lot of the homies, they like, asked me like, oh, how many subscribers do you have? Any listeners? I was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no clue. And I do. And I was like, I really, like, for me on my end, especially like starting with something, I don't always like looking at numbers, because then I feel like I get in my own head about it.
Yes.
And then I feel like I have to try harder, and it's not genuine.
Which is why I'm glad that like I look at them, because I get in my head about it and I stuff, but like, I know that you're there to balance it out on the fact that like, you don't know what it's like, and that's okay. But my thing is also, I was like, I want to preface this by saying, like, I don't want to hit 2K because I want it to blow up, or I want it to, like, profit, or I want it to be a thing. It's because I want to help people.
Yeah, like, our goal here, like, wasn't to, like you said, blow up. We're not looking for fame. We're not looking for money. We're not looking, like, for me, it's genuinely, like, and for Jaxon as well, it's, like, genuinely, like, I want to be able to give people some type of hope, some type of voice.
Or something to look forward to.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's just like, there are people who are going through shit on a daily basis, to where they literally, like, if this 1 hour is their escape, we're doing something for somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're giving somebody some type of release, escape.
A voice.
Yeah, like anything, you know what I mean? And that's why, like I said, like earlier, like, don't be afraid to reach out. Like, if you want us to talk about something that you genuinely feel like you're the only one who can relate to it, hit us with it. You know what I mean? So that way we both can, talk about it, or, kind of ponder it. And maybe that week before, if we are going to use it as that topic, like, try and talk to other people about it, and see, like you said, like we said, like, perspective based. Because for me, I always love getting different perspectives on the same topic, because you can always learn something new.
Yeah. But, yeah, thank you guys so much for checking it out and everything.
Shout out to everybody. Love you guys.
Yeah, love you guys.
Big mwah.
For me, a little bit more light. Oh shit.
Yeah, what the fuck? I'm actually really excited for this.
I want to talk about a tree falling on my house. So, I want to preface this. Okay, so this was years back. This was still when I lived with my parents.
Oh.
No, which makes it less exciting for you, but it's still, it's a good time. So I was at my mom's, and she was out of town. I can't remember why. I think she was at a concert with her significant other, and then all like her friends.
Mhm.
So it was my mom, and then my other mom, and then all of their friends and stuff, right? And it's Arizona, so it doesn't rain that often. But when it rains, it fucking rains sometimes.
Yeah, bro. In Arizona, when this bitch rain, Arizona's like, yo, I'm taking a fat piss.
Yeah,
bro.
and it was like a really rough night. Like it was really stormy. And so in our backyard, we had this big fucking tree. Like we're talking like massive.
Like one of them big old oak trees type shit.
Yeah, like it's huge. And like it's been there for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have like a smaller tree there, and then like just the backyard and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so it's raining, and I am like talking to my mom. I'm like, oh yeah, it's raining pretty bad. And then it hailed for a minute, so I like brought the dogs in, and I was like stepped outside to like look at it. I was like, oh yeah, mom, because she'd called me to see how I was doing and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I know it's pretty storming, like really bad, but you know, I'm kind of just sitting with the dogs and stuff and vibing. And so we hang up. I go back inside. Not but a minute later, I hear just a like just this loud thud, and the house shakes a little bit. I'm like, the fuck just happened? So
I would shit myself.
I like peek my head out the blinds, you know, like separate them a little bit, and I see in the back of the yard that giant fucking tree is sideways now. So I go,
So, oh no.
I immediately like pick my phone back up, start calling my mom, walk to the back door, open the back door. The tree is basically like slanted down. There's a like electrical cable hanging on like on a roof that it's like partly leaned on, and then it's also like on the what's it called? The like balcony.
Yeah, your
but
balcony.
It's not like the awning, I guess, or whatever it's called. Like that ceiling, and it's right basically where I was standing. And this tree's just like knocked down. And so I call my mom, I go back inside, immediately shut the door, and I go, Mom, the tree just fell.
Mom, I just threw up.
Mom, I threw up. No, but I go like, Mom, the tree just fell. And then she's like, what? Which tree? And I was like, the big tree. And she's like, the one by your room? I said, no, the big tree. It's on the house. And she's like, you're lying. And I was like, well, I'm not, because it's fallen over. I'm looking at it.
Dude, I don't even know what I would do.
And so she's like, okay, give me a minute. Send me a photo. And so she calls her friend who's in town still, has them come over. I send a photo over to her, and she goes, oh, what the hell? So they come in, and they're like, okay, Jaxon, pack a bag. We're going to send you over to your mom's friend's house, other friend who's with her, and you're just going to chill there for the night. And this was before I could drive, which is why I didn't just go to my dad's.
That shit is crazy, bro.
Yeah. So, and so this tree's like on the thing. And let me preface, the tree is big enough that a 5'4", 5'6" lady could stand in the hole of the tree, and just her head is barely peeking out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's a biggin. It's a chonker.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they send videos,
like,
photos, and then I go over to the house, the other house. My mom's like, calls me, and she's like, hey, are you doing okay? I'm like, yeah, a tree just fell. It's a little spooky, but also like, I'm good. I was like, kind of weird, kind of funny that you didn't believe me.
Why didn't you just fucking chop it down, bro? Why didn't you get your lumberjack?
Oh yeah,
shit
dog.
on?
Sorry, just.
Yeah, bro. I would have grabbed an axe and a fucking katana
I
and
just
just
break it
went crazy.
with my arms and my massive thighs.
I was about to say you should have just used your thunder thighs and just started
just
snapping
clap them together.
Stupid ass. Come on, dude. Got to be better.
Sorry, dog.
I would have went hammy on that bitch, bro. I would have been like, all right, bet. You want to challenge my shit?
No, you would have pulled a hammy on that bitch.
Probably.
Probably
would have died, punctured myself or something.
Splinter.
In my ass.
Unfortunate.
Other things.
So she's like, well, sorry I didn't believe you. I'm going to send you money for pizza. Go ahead and order yourself one, and okay, have a good night.
I'm going to go party.
Yep. And so she went back to her concert. I was like, what are you going to do, you know?
Yeah.
And so I ordered pizza. I think that's the same night that I used to do this thing where I would order pizza, and in like the comments for like special requests, I would write like, oh, write a message in the box, because I think it's the funniest shit. And I think that's the same night that the pizza guy wrote 9/11's an inside job on it, which is really good. It made me
That's
laugh
crazy.
a lot.
I think me and the homies did that with Domino's, and we bit send your baddest bitch that she got there, and this like older dude pulled up and he was like, "You guys are hilarious," and then gave us our pizza, and we were like,
Yeah, they're probably like, "Fuck you, dude." They're probably so angry at you.
bro, they were so pissed. We were like 16,
dude.
17, bro.
Of course they're pissed.
That shit was so funny. He was just not having it, bro. He was like, "Here's your pizza, dog." Like later,
Take your fucking pizza.
Yeah, like I'm gone. And
yeah, I do the same shit.
we were like, "Damn, bro, you couldn't even have no fun with it, bro." Like, could have joked about it, but like they sent me. Like if I get a message like that and I'm gonna go deliver this pizza, I'm like, yeah, what it is? They sent me.
I am
Himothy.
Himothy.
I am Himothy, the bad bitch. You know what I mean? Like
But yeah, that's when the tree fell on my house.
crazy.
Yeah,
I don't think I've
good time.
ever. I think the craziest shit was when school was canceled for raining. You remember that?
Yeah,
It like poured
for like
for like
5 days straight.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah, our school was flooded.
nonstop. Yeah, all the fields were flooded. People were swimming in
That was
fucking
rare.
parks and shit. That shit
was
was
weird.
nuts.
That was like global warming happening.
Yeah, it was great.
But before it was like an actual like big concern that people were talking about.
Yeah, that shit was nuts, dude.
Anyway, I think that's where we're gonna call it.
Later, dudes. Love you guys
Yeah.
a lot. Thanks for
Breundun,
listening.
Where can they find you?
Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We'll link all that shit below. And Twitch, Killer B 420, 2 R's.
You guys can find me at Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch at RQ. And then you can find both of us at Up for Aircast on TikTok, Twitter.
I think it's coming up for air on Instagram.
Yeah, and Instagram I think is coming up for air. And then you can obviously find us at Coming Up for Air on all podcast platforms and on YouTube.
I love you guys with my whole heart.
Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed.
Mwah.
See you guys next Wednesday. Bye.